Programming made possible by the Friends of No More fundraiser.
Hi, I'm here at the Lexington Humane Society where, as you can see behind me, there are some great friendships waiting to be made. According to the APPA National Pet Owners Survey, 65% of U.S. households own a pet. That equates to 79.7 million homes. Imagine how many animals we could save if every family that wants a pet adopted one from a shelter or rescue organization like this one. And in addition to helping precious animals find loving homes, we would also save money. Lots of money. According to OneGreenPlanet.org, reports that U.S. taxpayers spend from $1 to $2 billion every year to pay for the impoundment, sheltering, euthanasia, and disposal of homeless animals. And while 83% of pet dogs and 91% of pet cats are spayed or neutered, the Humane Society estimates that only 2% of community cats, those are the feral and stray cats, are spayed or neutered. And these cats produce about 80% of the kittens born in the U.S. each year. In this episode, we're going to hear 3 stories from nonprofits in the Bluegrass region who are working to protect our furry friends from felines to equines. First up, the dedicated volunteers at Spay Our Strays. And just like some of the stars in this story, I too can't resist a can of chunk light tuna. Let's go know more.
Nothing more heart-wrenching than euthanizing an animal because there's no home for it. A healthy animal, well-socialized animal, and there's just no homes. There's nothing worse than that.
The traditional approach to handling excess animals, and particularly with cats, has been to bring them in and to euthanize. And you adopt a few out and you euthanize the rest. And there's a big movement now going on with humane groups nationally. Best Friends Society, Humane Society of the United States, ASPCA, are really getting on board more with no kill. And they're encouraging shelters and trying to promote all sorts of ways with dogs and cats both. The thing about TNR is it helps stabilize the population of cats. It means trap, neuter, return, and that's exactly what it says. You trap the cat, you neuter it, vaccinate it, and return it to its usual location. You have a non-breeding population that occupy a certain area, and other cats tend to not come into that area. So by attrition, the population decreases.
Feral is a wild cat. It can be several different things, actually. Sometimes people have cats and they let them roam, and they will very quickly go back to being, I don't care for humans, left on their own. We don't only do feral cats, basically. We do indoor-outdoor cats sometimes for people. We do barn cats. They belong where they live, and so we really need to think of them as this is where they live, and they are community cats.
Well, I live on a farm, so I started going to spay and neuter, and I would feel sorry for this one or that one because, it was a pet that someone had dumped at one of the other colonies, and I just kept it. And so all of my cats are spay and neutered, and sometimes we get pregnant cats in. They have kittens. We get the kittens up to age, take them and get them spay and neutered. Adopt out sometimes. People will get tired of their pets and they'll see a colony and say, hey, these cats are fed, they're taken care of, so we'll just dump our cat here. Well, the colonies are not growing on their own, they're just growing from people dumping them, which is huge. You just couldn't, if they kept reproducing, there's no way you couldn't keep up with them.
Sometimes they'll provide loan the traps, and the caretakers will trap, or a friend will trap. But a lot of times these guys will go out on their own dime, and that's one huge thing about SOS. It's on their own dime. They'll go out there and sit around and smell herring and tuna, because we all know that's how to catch a feral cat, is trap with herring and tuna. And they'll go out there and sit and be quiet, which I could never do. Catch these cats and then bring them in. You can't trap a cat that has been fed. So you have to work with the caretaker and say, okay, well, don't feed today, and then we'll trap tomorrow, because a cat that is well fed is not going in a trap for anybody. Well, at the moment, I am spaying a cat, and spaying is an easy word for hysterectomy, so I'm removing the ovaries and the uterus. And the most important part for these TNR, trap, neuter, and release cats, is that they won't be reproducing anymore, but they are also not going to get breast cancer. They're not going to get uterine cancer or uterine infections. They're not going to come into heat, which gets cats into trouble a lot. They get into fights with male cats. People kick them out of the house because they're in heat, and it's driving them crazy that they're meowing morning, noon, and night looking for a boyfriend. So it's good preventative medicine, plus it prevents them from being able to reproduce. Right now, I'm drawing shots. For the cats, they get a CVRP and a rabies, 3-year rabies vaccination. And they also get Revolution applied for internal and external parasites. They get an ear tip that they're easily identified, and they don't have to undergo anesthesia again to have another possible surgery. It's hard to tell with pet cats whether they've been fixed or not unless they're males. And so we have an outward appearance that they have been fixed, making it easy to identify them. And hopefully they'll live a much better life and live a longer life because of what we do. Induction, 2 minutes to go to sleep, 3-4 minutes to get prepped, where we clip the hair, do the surgical scrub, clip the ear. They come in here, they get put on gas as a supplement to the anesthesia injectable anesthesia that they had out there. And then I can neuter a male cat in about 15 seconds. I can spay a female cat, an uncomplicated spay, in about 6 minutes. And then they go from here to recovery, where they get antibiotics and/or anti-inflammatories, pain medicine. Yeah, we talk to them while we're doing the surgery. I'm like, you don't need your testicles. Your testicles are only going to get you into trouble. You want to be delivered from your testicles. I have no doubt that it saves thousands of animals from being euthanized a year. It is heart-wrenching to euthanize them, but what's more heart-wrenching is trying to aggressively treat them and watch them die anyway. And I know these problems. I know spay and neuter impacts that not happening as much.
We want to see them taken care of. We don't want to see them abandoned. We don't want to see them hungry or killed. And we want to help them. And this is people's better natures, really, that are going out there and helping, in our case, cats. And I think it would be a great sadness for those folks At this point, I think we are having an impact on the population of cats, neighborhood by neighborhood by neighborhood. And that would go away, and you would have cats that are breeding and sick and hungry.
It's going to be really tough on the cats and on the community, and the impact is huge because all those cats are having kittens. The males wander and will find any female that is in heat, and so it's a big problem, and that's why the TNR movement started. So it would be a huge impact.
You know, it's making a difference, spaying and neutering, and I believe that with all of my heart, that it makes a huge difference.
The intake of cats and kittens is down. In the time that we've been doing what we do, that has really come down. And so the impact is very evident in intake numbers for the animal care and control here.
You know, we all want less feral cats, but this is the humane way to do it.
Our next stop will take us on an adventure of equine royalty. Old Friends is a retirement farm for thoroughbreds whose racing careers have ended, but their golden years have just begun. And at this farm, they truly are golden. This 136-acre farm hosts over 175 rescued and retired horses. And thousands of visitors take tours to see these proud legends, including 10 Breeders' Cup winners every week. So call ahead for reservations, but definitely don't miss this stop when visiting historic Georgetown, Kentucky.
They all have a life after the track, and so what will that life be? Will it be a good, secure life or not?
Most horses will run, generally till they're 4 or 5, and then they're going to live till late 20s, early 30s. So 25, 30 years of their life, they've got to do something else. And not all are good enough to be brood mares, and certainly not all are good enough to be stallions. So they have to go do something.
My wife used to be a columnist at the Boston Globe. I was the movie critic. We retired in 2001. And I suggested to her that we move to Kentucky to take care of some old horses. And now we take care of 162 here. We have a branch down at Kentucky Downs, and we have another branch up at Saratoga. We have more stakes winners than any farm in the history of horse racing. We have 2 Derby winners, 2 Preakness winners, Silver Charm and War Emblem. Right around the time we just started Old Friends, when it was discovered that Ferdinand, who was 1985 Kentucky Derby winner and 1986 Horse of the Year, had unfortunately died in a slaughterhouse over in Japan. What happened to Ferdinand is he started out at an A farm, and then he went to a B farm, then a C farm, then a D farm, and by the time he got to the E farm, they didn't even know who he was. And that's part of the problem. We've been attracting the owners and the jockeys and a lot of the people in the racing industry that have come to see these horses and tell us stories.
When people come to the farm, many of them are race fans, and they come to see horses that they used to cheer on in the old days, to get to actually talk to them, feed them a carrot, see how they're doing in their latter years. Come to see, the race horses. Some of them just come to see beautiful animals. And they come from all over the country, all 50 states. They come from all over the world. And we just try to make people aware of that wonderful, huge world of a thoroughbred after their racing days have done.
Well, we started the farm with 52 acres, and I bought 40 more back there, then 92, and then I bought 46 next door, then another 100. Because the demand for our services now totally exceeds the space that we have. One of the things that really can hurt a horse is stress, and one way to cause stress very quickly is to crowd them. So they all have to have enough room. So we like to have an acre and a half to 2 acres for every horse. That's the kind of the rule of thumb.
A lot of what we do here is same as any horse farm. So There's cuts, colics, and lamenesses. They play with each other and get hurt and get cuts. When they're racing, there's a lot more things we have to watch out for. They have to constantly keep them in racing shape, so you have to watch the feet a little closer, do things to help them avoid muscle soreness. But when they're retired, it gets a little bit easier, but as they get older, there's more problems we worry about. On the track, everything's regulated. Feed gets dumped at 5:30, jockey gets on them sometime before 10 in the morning, they get walked, they get fed, go to the stall, and it gets repeated the next day. And so sometimes when they're out there on green grass, they may not have seen grass since they were 2 years old, and so it's hard for them to figure out, what do I do now? Sometimes they're all different, and you have to figure out, what are they like, and what makes them tick, and adjust our lives to make them happy.
I think one of the reasons that it's evolved over the years is people have been able to come here and see it and see how well the horses are taken care of. And now, instead of me calling owners and trainers and saying, I'd really like to retire your horse when the time comes, it's exactly the opposite. They start to contact us, and we get the most amazing calls about bringing the horses home from Japan and bringing them off the track and giving them a home here at Old Friends. If tomorrow it's not here, neither am I. They earned it. We're not doing anything that they didn't earn. This isn't some kind of welfare state for thoroughbreds. This is they've earned every penny of it, and they've done it all.
The biggest worry is the horse doesn't know that things fell through. And so they still need to eat, and they still need to have somebody take care of their stall. So somebody still has to do it, and somebody would have to step up, or they'd have to go somewhere else where somebody could do that. And if Old Friends was no more, we'd have a lot of horses that needed a lot of care and just places to live, people to take them.
These horses are heroes, they're great athletes, and they're the reason that everybody comes to Kentucky.
I can see from here the reasons right behind you. I can see a paddock full of ordinary horses. Only one of them did anything of note. And multiply those by thousands. Not very long ago, I was turning the corner in the golf cart, and Amazombi and Rapid Redux were playing, and they came running. And when they saw it was me, the look on their faces changed. It was like, oh, there's our friend. And that's worth everything to me, So yes, that's the payoff, and we are always needing volunteers to help out at Old Friends.
And when people come here, they're going to get to feed carrots to a Kentucky Derby winner like Silver Charm. I still think when I get up every day that I'm very, very fortunate to be able to be here, and I still get a thrill knowing that he's in my backyard.
One of the best things I ever did in my career was to start doing this, and I think everybody needs to give back. And it's just rewarding, because I still freak out a little bit on some of these horses when I see them, so it's really rewarding to get to see horses you saw, but also to give back to the ones nobody knew. They're just as special, and their stories is just as good as this horse. Horses that haven't done as much.
To wake up every morning and see Silver Charm in your yard, be able to do this, and see the kind of people that are dedicated to these horses every day. I mean, I'm surrounded by great horses and great human beings, and I can't think of too many places in the United States right now that can say that honestly.
Our final story will look at an organization whose mission is to help animals and the people and organizations that serve them. This mission is accomplished through public education and awareness, adoption from shelters, advocating for stronger animal welfare laws, and matching volunteers up with organizations serving these animals. Making a Difference Now also helps with medical bills for animals, foster placements, as well as training and support programs, some of which we'll see now at their annual conference in Lexington, Kentucky. Let's take a look and know more.
You save animals, and that is wonderful, but you look around and there's 5 animals to replace the one that you just saved. I worked off campus for UK several years ago. And all these cats were milling around our apartment building. And I and another woman who was also one of Madden's original board members worked together in that office. And we thought, these cats, these cats need help. They were just everywhere. A couple of them got killed on the road, and that broke our hearts. So we decided we needed to figure out what to do about all these cats. And we set up a caretaking team. I talked to every office in the 2 buildings surrounding this parking lot, found a number of cat people who were willing to help take a day every week to take care of these cats. We have a caretaking team, still today, some original members, and one person feeds the cat every day and every weekend. We have a rotating system. The cats are never left alone. Volunteers are a huge, gigantic, immense, incredible part. All of the organizations that you see here today need more volunteers. I can show you websites at this minute that will have dozens of foster families needed for a host of different animals. One of the goals of this conference was to let animal lovers who are not involved in animal welfare know about what all of these groups are doing and the volunteer roles we all need filled to be able to fulfill our mission, because they love animals and they want to make a difference.
I'm here because of the Mad Now conference, and these people reached out to me about wanting to talk about physical and emotional well-being of animals. So I jumped at the chance to be part of it. And people, when you think of a veterinarian, you think of them looking at a pet's physical well-being, but you don't necessarily think of us looking at a pet's emotional well-being. So that's really the message I brought here, whether it was the veterinarians and veterinary team members in the audience, people that work in rescue, shelter, or even fostering or adoption, is how do we start recognizing the signs of fear, anxiety, and stress in a pet, and how do we reduce those symptoms, or if it flares up, how do we treat it? And to date, we've had almost 20,000 people go through the online certification. So we're hoping with a few hundred more that heard this message live, and then maybe hundreds more that hear this, that they too will look at fearfreepets.com about what they can do.
Nationally, estimates are that 80% of kittens are born to community cats. It's a huge number. So if we can intervene and prevent a bunch of kitten litters, we are, one, of course, saving healthy animals from being killed because they don't have homes. We're saving a lot of money. We're saving grief from among some community members.
I am here because it's a great cause, and so overpopulation is a huge problem, and but the human-animal bond is what I love so much, and so I want client-owned animals, not stray animals, obviously, and the stray population affects the client-owned animals because of disease and infections and things like that. So getting that taken care of and trying to place as many as possible in homes, loving homes that they could be, is kind of the approach we take.
But if we can also educate the people who aren't necessarily cat lovers like we are about the benefits of TNR and how there will be a reduction in nuisance behaviors. Cats that are neutered don't yell and search for mates and make all those noises, and they don't run away from home, or they don't travel far from home much, or they're just calmer, more sedate animals. So people appreciate that as well too, and it's one of the selling points for why we do TNR with people who aren't necessarily convinced originally. If there were no more Making a Difference Now, fewer animals would be saved, there would be more animals with less support, and there would be no workshops like this. There'd be no conferences like this.
Everybody loses. Of course, the pet loses often when it's life. There's people out there, there's nothing can take the place of a pet. You know, for humans, we tend to have duplicity, hidden agendas, posturing for personal gain, performances. With your pet is pure agape love. They might try to coerce another treat out of you, but it doesn't matter if you're wealthy or rich, skinny or fat, ugly or good looking, it does not matter. When you come home from work, feeling like a human pinata, beaten but not quite broken. It's like, you get to see what it's like to be a rock star or a celebrity. I don't think there's anything that can replace that.
I will say we're a really small organization, so our direct impact would be felt more directly in Lexington. But there would also not be this conference. There would not be this chance for the 142 people who are here today to talk to each other and learn more about what we all do, figure out how we can better support each other and maximize the resources that are available. None of us have the volunteers we need. None of us have the money we need. None of us have the resources that we need generally. But if we can work more collaboratively and more cooperatively, I believe with all my heart we can make a greater difference.
My mom fosters for several of the things that are here today, and she loves it because she gets to spoil them and you know, help get them through a crisis. And a lot of times they're puppies that need to be bottle fed and stuff. And it's an art to get puppies that are, you know, two days old up till 6 weeks. I mean, like, you have to find good people for that.
None of us have the resources we need to save them all, although there are many movements working in that direction. We can maximize each other's strengths, support each other, stop being in silos, and I love the collaborative spirit that has happened as a result of this conference, working through the planning committee and people who got excited about it from all perspectives. All the feedback we've gotten is, it is so cool that you were doing this.
Whether you're a cat person or a dog person or both, or even a pig person, you can find someone here who will light up your day as much as you'll light up theirs. I know because I ended up with one and have had her for over 14 years. Get out there and volunteer, donate, or just spread the word about some of the great groups helping animals in your community. Get involved, Kentucky. I'm Kyle Lake, signing off and asking you to know more.